Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are viewing this session from. My name is Dan Stone, and I am the ArcGIS Parcel Fabric Product Manager. Through my time at ESRI, I have worn many different hats, but have always had a firm foundation with land administration. Today, I want to demonstrate how you can use the ArcGIS Parcel Fabric for managing leases and assist you with your land information needs. But first, a little disclaimer. What I plan on showing is how the Parcel Fabric can help you maintain your land information. It is not intended to be a replacement for your land information system. Instead, I want to demonstrate how it can supplement the mapping components of your land information system. So with that in mind, let's talk about land administration. When we speak about land administration, we are really talking about the 3 R's. The first R is rights. Who has the surface rights? Or who has the mineral rights? Or maybe who has the air rights for a particular piece of land? The second R is responsibilities. An example may be, I may not own the surface rights, but I have agreed to be responsible for the vegetation growth along the pipeline easement that has been granted to me. And the third R is restrictions. What am I restricted from doing on a piece of land? I may own the surface rights, but I am restricted from placing a wind farm because of my proximity to a local airport. It is these 3 R's that we use to define land administration. So why don't we dive in and explore the ArcGIS Parcel Fabric and see how it can help us perform these tasks. So here we have ArcGIS Pro. And just like ArcMap, it contains a table of contents. I also have catalog. I have a couple other panes down here that I can dock and bring up, very similar to ArcMap. Except across the top, you'll notice I have a ribbon, which is a little bit different interface. And I also have the capability of adding multiple maps to my ArcGIS Pro project. If I take a look in my catalog window, you can see that I have a file geodatabase that contains a simple feature class containing leases. I have another file geodatabase that contains a parcel fabric. And if I right-click on this parcel fabric and go to properties, I can see that the properties of my parcel fabric are that this is a parcel fabric version 4. The minimum required release of Pro is 2.7. When the last modified, the topology was enabled, and then parcel types. So in the ArcGIS Parcel Fabric, you add the type of land you're managing by adding parcel types. In this particular parcel fabric, I only have leases, but you could add leases, you could add fee simple, you could add easements or encumbrances. It's up to you what you are managing, and it's up to you what you are calling the particular parcel types. So there's no set model. It is a very flexible data model that you can use with the ArcGIS Parcel Fabric. When I add my parcel fabric to a map, you notice that I get my parcel fabric, which has my records and my topology. I also get my parcel types. So in my particular case, I get leases. And for every parcel type, I get my lines and I get my polygons. I also have something down here called historic, and I'll come back to that in just a minute. Why don't we go perform a simple edit and see how this works? We'll start off something simple, like a divide. Here I have a lease polygon that I need to divide into 4. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to create a record. What is a record? Well, the ArcGIS Parcel Fabric has been designed to mimic the transactions that happen in real life. So when a piece of property is split, divided, merged, that is usually the result of some contractual transaction that takes place. Somebody is conveying information or somebody is conveying land from one party to another. So that's what we really want to capture. We want to be able to capture this particular transaction. So in this case, I'm going to enter something like instrument number 2345. I can choose a record type, and this is nothing more than a domain. So you can, again, um, make this so that it fits your business system. So actually, I'm going to make this a primary term. Um, Very important is the date that it was actually recorded, or the date that this actually comes into um, legally being. We could also keep track of the expiration date, the year, the leaser, the leaseholder, anything that you want to keep track of from the contractual standpoint of the land transaction is what you would put on the record. So now I'm going to create my record, and I can see that I have this record created because it is now in my heads-up display. This tells ArcGIS Pro, and it also tells the Parcel Fabric, that when I interact with the parcel, I want to be able to maintain both history and lineage. This is known as a record-driven workflow. And so if I look at my parcel ribbon up here, I have records. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to select my lease, and I'm going to say, I want to copy lines too. And I'm going to copy them into my lease. And I'm going to say, show only the active record, and I want to preserve these attributes. You can think of this as a way of constructing from parent. So I want to use the geometry of this particular lease to create new information. So here I have the line work from that particular lease. Now, I'm only showing the active record, and that is this toggle button up here. So one of the benefits of having a record is I can say, show me only the record that I am actually working with. I don't need to see everything else. I'm only interested in seeing the record that I'm interested in. So to divide this into 4, I'm going to just do something very simple. I'm going to use the regular divide tool, and I have these 4 lines selected. I'm going to say I want to divide these into equal parts, and the number of parts is going to be 2. So I'm going to divide these guys right in half, and I'm going to say divide. So now that I have these divided, all I need to do is go in using my create features, and I can come over here and modify my template to say I don't want to continue, I just want to use 2-point lines. And now it's just a matter of connecting the dots. So I'm going to connect this dot to this dot and this dot. Oops, wrong edge, to that dot. So now I have these divided. The next thing I'm going to want to do is create seeds. And you can see we kind of put these in order along the Parcel Fabric ribbon. So create seeds is actually going to generate a seed for these particular areas that define closed loop lines. And what happens from creating seeds? Well, grow parcels, or in this case, we grow leases. So my next step would be to build these lines into parcels. So just like that, I was able to take a existing lease, divide it into 4. Now, what happened to the original lease? Well, that gets stored and maintained as the historic. So if I was to select these leases here and take a look at the attributes, you notice I get the historical parcel that was there, and I also get these newly created parcels. Now, one of the things to note is that each parcel has a created by record, and it also has a field called retired by record. When it's historic, we keep track of the GUID of the record that caused this parcel to be retired. And as a result, not only do we get record-driven workflows that say this is what created these 4 parcels, but we also get a record-driven workflow that retires the original parcel and stores it there. So this way, not only do we have history, we also have lineage. So again, this is working with a file geodatabase. Let's take a look back at our catalog. We notice that I also have a connection to an enterprise geodatabase here. And in that enterprise geodatabase, I also have that parcel fabric. And if I look at this map here, this is also the enterprise geodatabase. However, in a multi-editor environment, the parcel fabric is not edited using a enterprise geodatabase. It is actually edited through the feature service. So if I take a look at my feature service over here, you can see that I also have the parcel fabric as a feature service. And in this map here, that's what we're actually viewing and editing. So let's go see and take a look at another edit that we can perform. Before I do that, let's take a look at something. This is a feature service coming from my portal. And if I take a look at my feature service over here and look at my data source, you can see that I have the default database. I can actually change versions and choose my lease updates version. And now this is where I will be performing all my edits. And when I have this version or my feature service active, you notice I do have a versioning tab up here that allows me to manage my versions, create new ones, reconcile, post, everything that you were used to in a traditional versioning workflow, you have as a feature service now. Okay, so I'm going to do a record-driven workflow. I'm going to say create my record. This one I'm going to call lease split poly. The record type, I'm going to say again, primary term. For time's sake, I'm just going to go ahead and add a few things and create that particular record. So now I'm interested in actually splitting this particular lease here. Again, I'm going to use my divide tool, but instead of actually copying my lines and using the geometry of my lines, I am actually going to choose a polygon edge. So I can come over here and say, I want to split that line or this polygon in two based on this boundary here, according to the legal document. Or the legal document says based on this bearing, I can split it into two parts. Or I can choose to draw a line and I can just click anywhere. I don't even need to be inside of that polygon to do this. And I can right click and say, I want to choose a direction and say that I want to go to the northeast. And you notice that when I draw that line, it also draws that line and says, I will use that to divide this particular parcel. So if you have a call from a surveyor that says, just divide these two in half, and he provides you with that bearing, you can enter that and actually have this polygon divided. And again, going back and taking a look, we still get our historical parcel that shows that at one point there was this particular lease was all in one lease, and now it's been divided into two. Let's go take a look at another way that I would create some features, and this is by entering a traverse. So in this particular example, somebody has gone into the field and acquired a new lease. And so I'm going to say lease from Traverse. And again, in a real world situation, you would probably be putting in here the instrument number or some contract number that caused this parcel to come into being. And so on my records driven tab, I have a tool called Traverse. I can choose what I'm entering in. In this case, I'm choosing the lease lines, and I can set my start point. I'll snap to that corner right there. And now I can start entering in calls that are coming in from a deed or from a survey. And this one is saying it's 76 degrees, 36 minutes, 41 seconds to the northeast. And all I have to type in one for the north quadrant bearing or the northeast quadrant bearing and give it a distance of 2631.66. And you can see that I get my line drawn in there. Now I'm going to go 14-00-49-2, and that's going to be 1824.14. And I'm not going to make this too complex. I'm just going to make this a very simple one, 76-41-19-3. And this one's going 2624.51. And then our last call will be 14-14-22-4. And this is going 1820.69. And you notice it closes. How do I know it closed? Well, down here I have a misclosed distance of 0.02 feet, so 2/100 of a foot was the misclose. Its misclose ratio is saying that it's high accuracy. The calculated area, and then the closure method. And I can choose the different closure methods. So here I have compass, transit, or Crandall, and we can see what I entered, how the values were adjusted, and the residual values. So we have all that capability of providing all this information just from entering the traverse. I know this is something that's almost like watching paint dry when I demo, but I think it's important to note that we do have that capability of entering surveys and then also being able to make those adjustments on those particular surveys. Now, I have my loop of closed lines. The next thing would be to create my seed. There is my seed. And then to grow that seed, I will build it. And there I have my new lease polygon. So that would be another example of creating a lease from scratch using a survey or deed. And again, I'm editing the feature service here, not an enterprise geodatabase or a file geodatabase, but the feature service, which is storing all that information in my enterprise. So let's go take a look at a quality-driven workflow. So we have record-driven workflows, which requires us to have a record. And then we also have quality-driven workflows, which can happen at any time and doesn't need a record. It is more of a way of cleaning up your legacy data. I know a lot of this data has been in many different formats over the years, and so maintaining it becomes quite a challenge. In this particular case, if we take a look here, we can see that we have 2 points that are really close together with a little bit of a overlap or sliver from our 2 polygons here. Now, I want to fix that particular overlap and sliver. That would be a quality-driven workflow, and we have a lot of tools that are built for helping you clean these particular types of issues in the data. So I'm actually going to clear my selection. I'm going to use my Merge Points tool, and I'm just going to select those 2 points. So if you notice, I have 2 points to merge. Those are the 2 points that I selected. This one here says preserve. And if I was to zoom in here, we'd see that between these 2 points, I'm preserving that one. Or if I choose this other one, that line is going to move. And I think that's more of what they're trying to represent between these 2 deeds. Keeping one of the points, that one there is going to hold the data this way. Keeping it this way is going to fix it. So I'm just going to say, yes, that's what I want to do. I want to merge. And it's merged those 2 points together. So that's simple. Not only did I edit the polygons, but also the boundaries of those lines that make up those polygons. So it happened all in one atomic transaction. So that would be an example of a quality-driven workflow. Let's take a look at how else the Parcel Fabric can benefit you by helping you better your data through different workflows, especially when you get imported corner points or something like that from surveys. In this particular area, we notice that our leases are slightly off from our land grid. And so this raised concerns. We hired a crew, sent them out in the field, and they came back and they had updated coordinate points for each of these particular corner locations. So I can use the Parcel Fabric to help me improve the accuracy of my data by taking advantage of these particular new captured points and update my fabric to match that. So I'm going to use a Parcel Fabric GP tool called Import Parcel Fabric Points. My source points are going to be my updated GPS points. My target parcel fabric will be my lease parcels. I'm going to use my name and proximity. I'm going to use my match field as my name. My search distance, I know that we are off quite a bit in this particular area. So I'm going to actually give it 250 feet, allow it to move 250 feet. I'm going to say update tight all. And for purposes of this demo, I'm going to say enable undo. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and hit run. And just like that, you notice that my parcels have been adjusted so that those corner points match the points that were captured by the latest survey that we had. So the parcel fabric can be used to not only maintain your data, it can help fix quality issues through the quality-driven workflows, and then it can also improve the accuracy of your data by allowing you to import updated surveys or coordinate positions to better reflect your data. There's also tools that will allow us to export identity and displacement vectors so that you can take this information and apply it to other types of data that you may be maintaining. And lastly, since the parcel fabric is 2D and 3D aware, we can take our parcel fabric into a scene. We can symbolize based on certain attributes if we need to, but then we can also rotate and actually record the from depth to depths, and we can start seeing how we can maintain the parcel fabric not only in a 2D, but also in a 3D fashion. Let's go back and recap what we just saw. So the Parcel Fabric is ESRI's land records management solution and has been designed to meet the land records community needs for the next 15 to 20 years. And every generation improves on previous generation to meet the new requirements. So how does the Parcel Fabric provide a solution to meet these requirements? Well, first of all, it is a solution that works out of the box. There's a flexible data model, meaning if you want to call your leases, if you want to call them fee simple properties, easements, whatever the type of land you are managing, you can model and use within the Parcel Fabric. It's easy to implement and learn. The same tools that you use in ArcGIS Pro are the same tools you use with the Parcel Fabric. So there's not a special toolbar to learn or anything like that. It's scalable from one user using a file geodatabase to many users using a feature service. It has built-in quality management. So we saw that there was two different workflows. We had a record-driven workflow, and we also had a quality-driven workflow. And so the quality-driven is built in there. And with the use of attribute rules, you can really help and find areas that need to be fixed within your fabric. It works with any land description type, whether it be meets and bound, PLSS, a offset version going down a pipeline, and we're saying it's 50 feet offset the pipeline at this location for another 1,000 feet, and then it goes to 75 feet for another 100 feet. So we can model all those different land types. We keep track of both history and parcel lineage. It has efficient workflow, so it comes shipped with particular tasks for maintaining parcels, but those tasks are completely configurable and you can use them to maintain anything. It has 2D, 3D, and 4D capabilities. So we know 2D. We saw that I can do the parcels in 3D, and then with branch versioning, you automatically get that 4D component of time. And then we have immediate access to staff and public. Since we're using a feature service, that same feature service can feed into dashboards and other types of web apps so that administrative staff can actually see what is actually happening in the database. Again, the Parcel Fabric is a controller data set. It maintains the records, which are the way land is transacted. It has connection lines, which are those lines that say beginning at this corner, thus proceeding to a certain point to the true beginning of a particular lease or parcel. And then we have the points, which are kind of the glue that holds everything together and keeps everything coincident. And then we have each parcel type will have its own polygons and lines with its own set of attributes. And then in addition to that, the fabric will control the error features, any parcel rules, and any topology. Again, there's two deployment types, a single user deployment, which uses a file geodatabase, and a multi-editor deployment, which uses the enterprise. And with the enterprise, you are then editing feature services. So what does that mean? Well, I can be on my desktop and I can be performing my editing and my maintenance, my QA, QC, doing any kind of adjustments. I can then take that same feature service and have it available to devices that may be out in the field doing additional boundary data collection, or maybe they're doing a boundary resurvey or collecting additional geodetic control. But we can also take that same feature service and make it available to web editing for, say, somebody that's using something like Parcel Drafter or executive dashboards. Or more importantly, since this is a feature service, the Parcel Fabric service has a REST endpoint that will allow you to geo-enable other business systems, meaning that other business systems could actually make a call to the Parcel Fabric, create a record, select a couple parcels, and perform a merge without ever having to interact with an editor. So there are some definite efficiency gains capable once there's integration with a land information management system. I'd like to close by leaving you with additional resources. We have the Parcel Fabric Meetup. We meet typically once a month, maybe twice a month. Here is the URL to go sign up. On the Parcel Fabric Meetup, you'll get notification that we're coming up with a new meetup as of December 1st was our latest meetup of what is new in 2.9. Also, if you want to gain more additional information on the Parcel Fabric, the best place to go is the online help documentation. We don't have any technical papers out there because we found that it's easier to just keep that information updated online. And that way, you know that that's the place to go to get the most recent up-to-date information regarding the Parcel Fabric. Then we also have the ArcGIS Parcel Fabric Place on the ESRI community site. And at that place, you'll be able to find blogs, you'll be able to submit questions, see documentation out there. The biggest part are these videos. We have over 30 hours of videos available for you to watch and learn additional information about the Parcel Fabric. And then we also have a place to submit ideas. And those ideas is what we use to drive the functionality of the Parcel Fabric. As those ideas come in, we evaluate them. Is it something that we can do? Does it make sense? If it does, then it becomes part of the core product. Also, my email address is dstone@esri.com. If you have any comments, questions, or would like to understand a little bit more about the Parcel Fabric, please feel free to contact me at my email, and I will respond to you as quickly as I possibly can. With that, I'd like to really thank you for giving me the opportunity to present the ArcGIS Parcel Fabric today, and hope you got something out of this. Y'all have a great day, and I appreciate your time. Thanks.